North American Energy just turned into a worthless piece of paper. If you are watching this right now, right here, you are witnessing the moment the United States stopped being the energy superpower it thought it was. You are witnessing the moment Donald Trump realized that you cannot bully the man who holds the keys to your thermostat. And you are witnessing what happens when the rest of the world, Canada, France, Italy, Israel, decides it no longer needs America's permission to rewrite the rules of global power. Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, just did something no world leader has dared to do in 4 years. He didn't negotiate. He didn't flinch. He pulled the plug. As of right now, the $865 billion North American Energy Security Pact is dead, collapsed, erased from the ledger of history. And the shockwave is not stopping at the Canadian border. It is rippling through Paris, through Rome, through Tel Aviv, through every capital that ever wondered what happens when someone finally says no. Donald Trump gave Canada an ultimatum at midnight. He thought he had the leverage. He thought he could force Ottawa to sell its oil and hydropower at a steep discount or face a total border blockade. He thought this was a masterstroke from the art of the deal. But he forgot one critical thing. When you threaten the man who controls the tap, he doesn't have to argue with you. He just turns it off. 12 hours ago, leaked documents revealed that the Trump administration demanded a preferred pricing mechanism, Washington's polite term for extortion. They wanted Canadian oil at 20% below the global market price. And if Canada refused, Trump threatened a 100% tariff on Canadian electric vehicles and aluminum. It was the playbook of a mob boss, not a president. Carney didn't blink. He didn't call an emergency summit. He simply let the deadline pass. And then, with surgical precision, he issued a single notification to global markets. Canada is officially decoupling its energy strategy from the United States. Effective immediately. This is not a drill. This is not political theater. This is an economic heart attack. And the patient is the American economy. Look at your screen. The markets are already hemorrhaging. Energy futures are spiking. The Canadian dollar is surging. And the Dow Jones is doing something it hasn't done since the pandemic. It is falling out of pure, undiluted fear because Wall Street understands what the White House refuses to admit. Without Canadian heavy crude, the refineries in Texas stop running. Without Canadian hydropower, the lights in New York and New England start to flicker. Without this deal, the myth of American energy independence evaporates. Trump gambled with your heating bill, he gambled with your gas price, and he lost. But here is what makes this moment truly historic. Canada didn't just walk away from America. Canada walked toward everyone else, and everyone else was already waiting at the door with contracts in hand. Within 90 minutes of Carney's announcement, the Élysée Palace issued a statement. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, didn't just express concern. He made an offer. France wants in. Paris announced it is fast-tracking a Franco-Canadian strategic energy partnership, a deal that would see Canadian liquefied natural gas flowing directly to French terminals in Dunkirk and Marseille. In exchange, France is offering Canada access to its nuclear technology expertise, the crown jewel of French energy, to help Canada build the next generation of small modular reactors on Canadian soil. Think about what just happened. In the time it took Trump's team to figure out their talking points, Macron already had a deal on the table. This is not charity. This is chess. France has been desperate to reduce its dependence on unstable energy sources since the Russian gas crisis. Canada just became the answer to a question Paris has been asking for 3 years. And Macron understands something Trump never will. You don't get energy security by threatening your suppliers. You get it by being the partner they actually want to work with. Total Energies, France's energy giant, has already dispatched a negotiating team to Ottawa. The ink isn't dry, but the handshake is done. The pipeline that was supposed to go south, it's going east now, across the Atlantic. Trump just lost Canada to France. Let that sink in. But France isn't alone. 6 time zones away, in Rome, Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, convened an emergency session of her energy cabinet. Italy is the most energy vulnerable major economy in Europe. It imports over 73% of its energy. When Russia turned off the gas, Italy nearly froze. They swore never again. And now Canada is offering exactly what Italy needs: stable, long-term, democratically sourced energy from a G7 partner that doesn't invade its neighbors or threaten nuclear war. Italian energy giant Eni has been quietly negotiating with Canadian LNG producers for months. Those negotiations just went from exploratory to urgent. Meloni released a statement, and it was pointed. She said, Italy stands ready to welcome Canadian energy into the European market. Reliable partners deserve reliable customers. Read between the lines. She's saying America had its chance. America blew it. The Mediterranean is about to become a highway for Canadian energy, routed through French and Italian terminals, distributed across southern Europe. A new energy architecture is being built in real time, and the architect, it's not in Washington, it's in Ottawa. Now, here is the part no one is talking about yet, and this might be the most consequential move of all. Israel, while the world watches Canada and Europe realign, Israel is making a calculation that could reshape the entire Eastern Mediterranean. Israel sits on top of the Leviathan and Tamar gas fields, massive offshore reserves that hold trillions of cubic feet of natural gas. For years, Israel has been trying to become a major energy exporter, but it faced a problem. The US-dominated energy order kept prices low and markets closed. That problem just disappeared. With North American energy fracturing, global gas prices are surging. Israel's gas, which was barely profitable at old prices, is suddenly liquid gold. Israeli officials have already reached out to both France and Italy about expanding the East Med pipeline corridor, a project that would pump Israeli gas directly into European markets through Cyprus and Greece. And here's the twist. Mark Carney and Israeli energy officials have been in back-channel communication for weeks. Canada and Israel are not competitors in this new landscape. They are complementary. Canada supplies the heavy crude and LNG. Israel supplies the Mediterranean gas. Together, they offer Europe a complete energy alternative without a single barrel from Russia, without a single molecule from an American refinery. Trump didn't just lose Canada. He catalyzed an entirely new energy alliance, one that stretches from the Arctic to the Mediterranean, and the United States is not invited. How did this happen so fast? Because Carney planned it deep in the original deal, page 400. Carney's team inserted a clause called the sovereignty snapback. It states that if the United States imposes arbitrary or punitive trade measures, Canada reserves the right to suspend all energy pricing guarantees immediately. No negotiation, no appeals. Trump's midnight tariff threat, that was the trigger. Snap. The deal dissolved. It was a legal trap, elegant, bureaucratic, and lethal. And Trump walked right into it, blinded by his own arrogance. Carney knew Trump couldn't help himself. He knew the bully would eventually overreach. So he built a self-destruct button into the deal, handed the remote to Trump, and waited. Trump pressed it with both hands, and while the White House scrambles to understand what happened, Canada, France, Italy, and Israel are already building the new world. So what does this mean for you, for the regular person watching this who just wants to fill up their car and heat their home? It's going to hurt. I won't sugarcoat it. In the short term, speculation alone will drive prices up. You will see it at the pump within days. Heating oil in the Northeast could double before winter. But the long-term damage is worse. U.S. Gulf Coast refineries are engineered to process Canadian heavy crude. They can't just switch to Texas light sweet crude overnight. It's a completely different chemistry. Those refineries will run at reduced capacity, less gasoline, higher prices, shortages, and it cascades. Petrochemicals feed manufacturing, plastics, agriculture. When the feedstock price rises, fertilizer goes up, corn goes up, beef goes up, packaging goes up. Everything in the grocery store gets more expensive. Inflation was finally cooling. Trump just poured gasoline on the embers. Meanwhile, France is locking in Canadian LNG at competitive rates. Italy is securing Mediterranean gas through Israel. They are building energy security. America is losing it. The energy independence America bragged about, it was always a myth. It relied on Canada being a silent, obedient partner. That partner just left the building and took the keys with them. Trump is checkmated. Every move he makes now leads to more pain. Sue Canada. The USMCA dispute process takes years. The tankers move in days. Close the border. He destroys the economies of Florida and Arizona, his own voters, escalate tariffs. He drives prices higher for American consumers in an election year. Backtrack. He looks weak. And weakness is the one thing Donald Trump's brand cannot survive. Meanwhile, Carney is silent. He doesn't need to speak. The scoreboard speaks for itself. Carney, $865 billion in retained sovereign assets. New partnerships with France, Italy, and Israel. National approval surging. Trump zero. Spiking gas prices. Fractured alliances. And a winter he cannot spin. Carney isn't angry at Trump. He is simply correcting a market inefficiency. And the inefficiency is Donald Trump's ego. This is bigger than oil. This is bigger than gas prices. This is a civilizational shift. For a century, the United States was the sun, and every other nation orbited around it. Today, the planets broke orbit, and they didn't drift into chaos. They formed a new solar system. Canada, France, Italy, Israel, backed by Japan, Germany, India, are building what Carney calls sovereign resource architecture. Translation: our resources, our rules, our future. It is a world where energy is not just a commodity, it is a shield. A world where the nations that have it decide who gets it based on partnership, not threats. Trump showed the world that America is no longer a reliable partner. And the world responded not with anger, but with something far more devastating. They moved on. Carney didn't just save Canadian resources. Macron didn't just secure French energy. Meloni didn't just protect Italian homes. Israel didn't just monetize its gas fields. Together, they proved that America first eventually means America alone. The deal is dead. The alliances have shifted. The tankers have turned. And the president has no clothes. Welcome to the new reality. Subscribe now, because this story is moving fast. The fallout is just beginning. And when the lights flicker, you need to know why. We'll be here watching the collapse and telling you what no one else will